Chapter 7, Episode 11. The bus terminal in New York was a bit like hell. A small city in itself, 15,000 homeless people. There were pickpockets, drug addicts, alcoholics, young mothers, big men masturbating, and a stench like Bombay in the hot sun. It was not a safe place to be, but there was also tolerance among the inmates. Whenever Zara went to the station for a quick feeding, she usually conned a con into following her. It never took so long. She would scout out, one outside a crowd, and look lost. When she had him or someone else following her, she went to the basement. One of the problems with leaving meat in the bowels of the bus station was the rats. Rats would clean up the bodies if she didn't wrap them properly. And sometimes, even if she did, rats were very good at finding food. Zara wasn't one for old meat, so going back to the next days never happened. So the one problem was a solution to the second situation. Her hiding place was behind a door that said danger high voltage. The door looked like it was locked, but it wasn't. It was, however, well buried in a sub-basement. Behind the door, it looked like there was nowhere to go. On the other side of some crackling electrical towers was another door with a sign that stated, "No entry, survivors will be prosecuted." The word prosecuted had been marked through with a line and replaced by the word shot. "Hey girl, where the fuck are you going?" "What? What are you doing here? Do you work here?" "What if I do?" Zara hurried down the steps. The young man chased her down a long flight of metal stairs. There was almost no light, which was fine for Zara, but not so good for somebody not Zara. No matter how much they tried not to be, they always became somewhat terrified from the sounds. The cracking of the metal stairs was right out of a horror film. The scurrying of rats, the dripping of water, and the buzzing of the old fluorescent light that still amongst gave off enough light to see a little. "How do you know about this place?" "My grandfather showed it to me." "You must have a strange grandfather." "He is a little strange, but don't say that to him." "Why did you come down here?" "It's a fantasy of mine." Zara took off her jacket and blouse. "Wow, you have great tits. I come down here to masturbate. I love how the sounds echo down the tunnels, and you can scream as loud as you want and nobody hears you." The young man looked around. He didn't know what the fuck was going on. Why had he followed the woman to a huge rat hole? "Jesus, you're hot. Why did you follow me?" "I thought you might spare me a few dollars. Looks like you have some." "I see. I'm not carrying any cash. I'm a schoolgirl. We do debit. You know? Any credits to buy things online. You've heard of online. No one has any cash." "I do." "You're no one." "Fuck you." "Do you want to?" Zara walked over to him and slowly undid the young man's belt, then his jeans. She pulled the jeans and underwear down as she went down. His penis was already erect. She put it in her mouth and started sucking on it. He held her head so she wouldn't stop. The bitch would take his load. Then he would kick her in the face and take her backpack. She could take her rich bitch attitude and fuck off. Zara was complainant. She was curious about penises. She had seen enough of them, but to actually have one in her mouth was something different. She didn't mind it. It was quite fun. It was such a bold thing when it was pumped, and even more so when it was actually pumping. Shortly after that, it lost, and the owner lost much of the boldness. She didn't swallow and didn't try to move. She was done with being curious. She wanted to feed. The food was holding her head really tight. He didn't want it to end, but the erection faded. Zara waited until it was limp. Then she bit it off. The screams filled the vast hall. Zara stood up and chewed on the young man's recently detached appendage and looked him in the eyes. Had he not been screaming, he would have not been breathing. It's the atmosphere here, sorry. Death from having one's penis bitten off is not so quick. There is a lot of bleeding, which is good for the meat, not good for the end of sexual fantasy. Zara wasn't sure if she liked penis and spat it out. It was well chewed up. It hadn't been her intention to make the man's nightmare worse. Seeing his chewed up penis made him pass out. He fell over, still with both hands pressing on the spot where his penis wasn't, and still not quite dead. Zara rolled him over and ate her favourite piece of meat, the spot just above the buttock crack. Always very tender. Then she smashed his chest in and ripped out his heart. No one was certain if this was important because of the ritual of it, or if there was something about the meat of the heart that was especially good for her type. Everyone avoided the thyroid glands. Legend said why, but Zara knew there was also a medical reason: the thick neck disease. Many like the adrenal gland for a quick pickup. Zara, like most of her kind, liked the heart. She ate what she needed and left the rest for the rats. She pulled out her smartphone to check the time. She had 20 minutes to get to her next class. She looked at the thin body and felt a little regretful about discarding so much meat. In 20 minutes she had a test in algebra and didn't want to be late. She wiped her face and hands with the water of a dripping pipe and dried off on the dead man's shirt and quickly dressed before hurrying up the stairs back into the terminal and out into the street to jump out into a waiting Uber car.